أهلا بيكم. والنهاردة هنبدأ أو هنكمل مع بعض chapter 5 في A Tale of Two Cities. طبعا الحصة اللي فاتت أو المرة اللي فاتت لما أخدنا الستوري وقفنا عند chapter 4 اللي كان بيتكلم عن مسيو لوماركي اللي هو كان one of the aristocrats. كان معروف إن هو واحد من الارستقراطس in Paris أو in France, and he was known to be cruel. وطبعا أكيد كلنا فاكرين situation of the dead boy لما ولد صغير a dead boy was killed under the wheels of Monsieur le Marquis carriage. وطبعا بابا الولد اللي هو كان Gaspard killed Monsieur le Marquis at the end. وطبعا كل السيتويشن من اوله لاخره بيبين قد ايه ان الارستقراطس او مسيو لوماركي كسيمبل او كنموذج للارستقراطس how the aristocrats were very cruel and didn't respect the poor. They didn't respect the feeling, even a situation لما يبقى في موقف of a dead person, there is no respect about this. So we are going to start chapter 5, which talks about, or the title of chapter 5 is marriage proposals. طبعا كلمة marriage proposal يعني تقدم أو طلب للزواج. هنا أما نتكلم عن marriage proposals, we are going to see that there are some people or some men wanted to get married to Lucy Manette. ده كده السامري بتاع الشابتر أو ملخص الشابتر ده، إن كان فيه a group of men أو تقريبا المارriage proposals كلها أو طلبات الزواج دي كانت لشخص واحد وهو لوسي مانيت. طيب عندنا 3 persons أو 3 people wanted to get married to Lucy. أكيد طبعا it's predictable من المتوقع that one of them is going to be Charles Darnay. طيب Charles Darnay, now we are going to talk about a year, مر سنة, after the death of Monsieur le Marquis. Monsieur le Marquis has been dead for a year, and now Charles Darnay decided not to go back to France again because he felt that it's unsafe to go back to this country. He knew that as a person or as a member of the aristocratic family, it's going to be very difficult for him to travel there. He felt unsafe, he felt great danger in France, so he decided to stay in England, where he was able to build a wonderful career in teaching. He was a French teacher, he taught the French, and he built a great reputation about working in this career. And at the same time, it was very clear, كان واضح جدا, that Darnay was madly in love with Lucy. Charles Darnay wanted to get married to Lucy, and he was madly in love with her, but he didn't get the good chance to do this or to speak or to propose her for marriage until one day. And one morning, في يوم من الأيام, Lucy was out of the house and Dr. Manette was alone in his house in the Soho Square. طبعا في البيت بتاع دكتور مانيت. طبعا دكتور مانيت now has completely recovered. هو خف تقريبا. His memory is back. ذاكرته رجعت له. And he no longer works as a shoemaker. لا، هي خلاص he returned to practice medicine زي ما كنا عارفين من أول chapter 4. Charles came to visit Dr. Manette. And when he came, Dr. Manette welcomed him. He told him, "Hello, Charles. I'm afraid that Lucy is not here." أنا لو أنت جاي تقعد أو تتكلم مع لوسي، أنا عايز أقول لك إن لوسي مش موجودة. I'm afraid, but you are welcome. بس طبعا بيرحب بيه. Charles told him, "I know that Lucy is not here and I came to talk to you." أنا عارف إن لوسي مش موجودة. أنا جاي أتكلم معاك يا دكتور مانيت. Dr. Manette told him what the matter was. Charles told him, "My dear doctor, In fact, and without any introduction, you know what is the meaning of someone when he loves a person. انت عارف يعني ايه شخص بيحب حد. And that's exactly what I am in. I'm madly in love with your daughter, Lucy Manette. Dr. Manette was surprised, and then he asked him, did you ask her or did you talk to Lucy about this? Or do you think that Lucy exchanges you the same feelings? Charles told him, I can't be sure. أنا مش متأكد. I haven't tried. Dr. Manette told him, I think you should be sure that you are the only person who is trying to talk to her or to marry her. Charles Darnay asked him, is there anyone else? قال له هل في حد تاني trying to talk to Lucy or marry her? Dr. Manette told him, in fact, there are only two persons, في اتنين بس. Maybe, I'm not sure, but they are the only ones who talk to Lucy. هما الاتنين دول اللي هما في صداقة بينهم وبين لوسي أو بيتكلموا معاها. Only two. They are Sydney Carton and the lawyer, Mr. Stryver. Sydney Carton and Mr. Stryver. Because they visited the Manette's house many times and they talked to Lucy. So if there's someone, لو في حد تاني, wants to marry Lucy or proposed her for marriage, it will be either one of these two. Charles Darnay told him, I'm not to know, but you know what is the meaning of love. You have loved before. بيكلم دكتور مانيت ان هو احب مامة لوسي. قال له you have loved before and you know what is the meaning of this suffering. فهنا دكتور مانيت بدأ يتأثر بكلامه أو بكلام تشارلز وقال له please don't remind me with these difficult days. هو مش عايز يفتكر الأيام الصعبة إن هو فقد عيلته وإن هو he was sent to prison. لكن تشارلز دارني هنا كان عايز يبين لدكتور مانيت إن في similarity في تشابه between him and Dr. Manette. قال له إحنا الاتنين شبه بعض. We both worked hard. We both loved a woman and wanted to marry her, and we both tried to do our best to do this. فهو عايز يفهم دكتور مانيت ان هو اكيد اكتر حد هيحس بايه باللي تشارلز بيحس بيه هو دكتور مانيت لان هما تقريبا passed over the same situation. Dr. Manette was unable to speak or unable to give any reply, but he told him, I can't decide, but the only one who can decide, الشخص الوحيد اللي ممكن يقرر if you will be the husband of Lucy or not is Lucy herself. Because, you know, I can't force her, ما أقدرش أجبرها to do anything, but all what I can promise you, Charles, كل اللي أقدر أوعدك بيه, that if Lucy chooses to get married to you, I will not stand between you and her. فهنا Charles Darnay also gave Dr. Manette a promise. He told him, if I get married to Lucy, I will not try to separate between you and Lucy. عمري ما أحاول إن أنا أفصل بينك وبين لوسي. I know very well أنا عارف كويس جدا that your daughter is everything for you. And so, if you allow me or if we get married, I will not try to make you away from Lucy or make Lucy stay away from you. I'm going to be happy to stay connected to your daughter as much as you can. Charles thanked Dr. Manette and left. On the same day, في نفس اليوم, at the office of Mr. Stryver, في الأوفيس بتاع Mr. Stryver, Sydney Carton was sitting, working on the desk, when Mr. Stryver came quickly and spoke to him. He told him, Sydney Carton. عارفين طبعا مستر سترايفر كانت طريقته مع سيدني كارتون في تشابتر 2 كانت سيئة جدا لما قعد يفكروا ان هو not successful والكلام ده. فسيدني كارتون طبعا didn't pay any attention, ما كانش مدي اي اهتمام لكلام مستر سترايفر لان معظم كلامه كان فيه something like nonsense. تحس ان هو كلام فارغ او شخص مغرور زيادة عن اللزوم و talks about himself too much. فهنا أول لما Mr. Stryver came, when Mr. Stryver came and entered the office, he started to talk to Sydney Carton and told him, Sydney Carton, I have a surprise to you. I decided to get married. Sydney Carton didn't pay attention, ما كانش مهتم خالص. فهنا قال له, do you want to know who I'm going to get married to? انت عارف انا هتجوز مين يا كارتون؟ I'm going to get married to Miss Manette اللي هي لوسي. مين اللي بيتكلم الكلام ده؟ مستر سترايفر. بيكلم مين؟ بيكلم سيدني كارتون. سيدني كارتون اللي هو already in love with Lucy، يعني هو بيحب لوسي، هنعرف دلوقتي الكلام دوت. But Sydney Carton didn't pay any attention for Mr. Stryver's speech because he knew very well، كان عارف كويس جدا that someone like Mr. Stryver talks too much and maybe this will not happen. فمستر سترايفر بعد كده كمل كلامه قال له I advise you Carton to get married to a rich woman، انك تتجوز واحدة rich غنية to change your life. مستر سترايفر decided to go، قرر ان هو يروح to the house of Dr. Manette in order to ask Lucy for marriage. But on his way في طريقه to the house of Dr. Manette, Sydney Carton changed his mind. Mr. Stryver changed his mind and decided not to go to the Manettes, but instead he will go to the best friend of Dr. Manette and Lucy. He will go to Mr. Lurie at Tellson's Bank. He wanted to talk to him in order عشان هو كان عايز Mr. Lurie to help him to get married to Lucy. Mr. Stryver went to Mr. Lurie at Tellson's Bank. When Mr. Lurie saw Mr. Stryver, he was surprised and dash because he didn't used to find Mr. Stryver visiting him. Mr. Stryver smiled at Mr. Lurie and told him that he needed him in an important matter. Mr. Lurie started to pay attention to his words. فبدأ Mr. Stryver يسأله أسئلة. قال له am I rich؟ انت عارف ان انا غني؟ قال له indeed. قال له فعلا. قال له I'm from a noble family indeed. كل الكلام ده كلام جميل. قال له so Mr. Lurie I know you are a close friend. انا عارف ان انت شخص قريب جدا from Lucy and her father. So وعشان كده I want you to know that I want to take your opinion. عايز اخد يعني I want to get your opinion about my decision. I decided to get married to Lucy Manette. Mr. Lurie understood فهم دلوقتي why Mr. Stryver came to his office. But Mr. Lurie knew very well كان عارف كويس جدا that someone like Mr. Stryver will not be accepted by Lucy. Lucy will not get married to such a man. عمرها ما تقبل تتجوز شخصية زي مستر سترايفر. فهنا راح قايل لمستر سترايفر قال له I appreciate your desire. أنا مقدر اللي أنت بتفكر فيه but I think the person shouldn't take a step or do something unless he is sure that he will succeed. إن إن الشخص ما ينفعش إنه ياخد خطوة إلا لو متأكد that he will be accepted. This word الكلام ده annoyed Mr. Stryver and asked Mr. Lurie. قال له do you think that I will not be accepted؟ قال له أنا مش هتقبل؟ Lucy will not accept me؟ مش مصدق نفسه. فقال له I'm afraid to tell you yes. قال له أعتقد يعني أنا خايف إن أنا أقول لك الحقيقة بس يعني I'm sorry I think you will not be accepted. لأن مستر لوري كان عارف الكاركتر بتاعت لوسي كويس جدا وعارف how she thinks and how she was ambitious and she will never get married to a person like Mr. Stryver. Mr. Stryver left Mr. Lurie's office. خرج من Tellson's Bank and after he left he decided to forget all. قرر إن هو ينسى تماما about this matter. He decided to forget about Lucy's marriage and decided that he will not think of it again because it's a type of humiliation. هو شاف إن هو لو فكر في موضوع هو ممكن يترفض فيه، يعني if he tried to go to Dr. Manette's house and then he asked for Lucy's marriage, then after that he was refused، لو اترفض بعد كده، this will be a type of humiliation، نوع من الإهانة، إن هو كده بيهين نفسه أو بيقلل من نفسه. So Mr. Stryver decided to forget all about this matter and not to try ما يحاولش to think of marrying Lucy Manette again. On the same day and in the evening في نفس اليوم بالليل Sydney Carton came to visit and stay with Lucy. He sat with Lucy and started to talk together. بدأوا يتكلموا مع بعض. Sydney Carton wanted to reveal his love to Lucy. He told her that he loved her, but at the same time, he told her that it will not be possible for him, استحالة طبعا, to marry her. He told her, who can help you? I am a loser and I am a failure أو I'm a symbol. أنا عبارة عن symbol of failure. أنا رمز للفشل. And I am a loser. I am a useless man. ده الكلام ده بعد ما اعترف when he revealed his love to her. Allah, what can such a useless man like me do to you? I know that I loved you, but I can't marry you. I can't. وهو طبعا كان عارف كويس جدا and he knew very well that Lucy will not accept his marriage. But at the same time, Lucy had a lot of sympathy. Lucy كان عندها نوع من الsympathy أو التعاطف مع سيدني كارتون. She was very sympathetic. كانت متعاطفة جدا مع سيدني كارتون. She wanted to support him. قالت له Mr. Carton, I appreciate your feelings, but please try to change yourself. She knew that he was not successful. كان شخص not successful and he wasted his life. كان بيضيع حياته in useless things. And instead of being a very clever or famous person or using his skills in many things that is going to make him rich or benefited by that, but on the opposite, على العكس خالص, he was not clever. He was used by others. كان بيستغلوا الآخرين زي Mr. Stryver to do a lot of achievements using his skills. فقالت له Mr. Carton, I want you to change. فهنا كارتون كان عنده نوع من الديسبير. despair اللي هو اليأس. He had a type of despair. He told her, what can a loser like me do? And it's useless for me to change. But here, Miss Lucy, I am going to give you my promise. وهنا سيدني كارتون ادى لوسي الpromise. What is the promise that Carton gave to Lucy? He told her, and there is a promise that I can give you. I promise that I will give my life. إن أنا ممكن أضحي بحياتي to save you عشان أنقذك أنتي or to save someone you love. أو عندي استعداد كمان إن أنا أضحي بحياتي عشان أنقذ حد أنتي بتحبيه. وطبعا هنعرف في نهاية الستوري إن this promise was a very important symbol in the novel because we will know that at the end of the novel we are going to see what if Sydney Carton kept this promise or not. This is the end of chapter 5. Chapter 5 قصير جدا ما فيهوش أي حاجة. And now let's go to the questions and the summary. نروح مع بعض على ال questions. طيب ورجعنا مع بعض دلوقتي مع السمري والأسئلة مع الكوتيشنز، وهنبدأ مع المين بوينتس أو أهم النقط اللي موجودة في chapter 5. Number 1 مكتوب زي ما احنا شايفين Charles Darnay's motive. يعني إيه motive؟ يعني الحافز. إيه الحافز بتاع تشارلز دارناي؟ زي ما مكتوب هنا A year after his uncle's death, Charles Darnay is in England and deeply in love with Lucy Manette. He wants to marry her and decides to ask her father for permission when Lucy is not around. فهو عنده دافع أو حافز إن هو he wants to marry Lucy. Charles proposes to Dr. Manette زي ما شرحنا إن هو راح لدكتور مانيت واتكلم معاه and asked him for Lucy's marriage. Mr. Stryver's plan الخطة بتاعت Mr. Stryver how he wanted to marry Lucy، وعرفنا طبعا إن في الآخر الخطة دي بتاعته failed. Stryver consult بيستشير. كلمة consult هنا معناها بيستشير حد أو بياخد رأيه. Stryver consults Mr. Lorry بيستشير Mr. Lorry وعايز ياخد رأيه هل his plan to marry Lucy will be useful or not. Stryver backs out يعني التراجع. هو هنا بيتراجع أو بيرجع في كلامه خلاص after he finds that it will be useless for him to marry Lucy. Sydney Carton's love طبعا هيتكلم مع لوسي. Carton's sacrifice وده البروميس اللي اداه في النهاية. طيب ايه هي الثيمز؟ الثيمز اللي موجودة أو الأفكار اللي موجودة في النوفل في chapter 5 love and sacrifice. وهنا هنتكلم عن سيدني كارتون اللي هو is ready to sacrifice his life. social states and marriage وهنا هنتكلم عن مستر سترايفر الحالة الاجتماعية والنظام الاجتماعي وهو عنده طموحات ان هو to get married to a rich woman وشايف نفسه ان هو شخص فظيع وهكذا. self worth and redemption. self worth ان هو شخص شايف بيقيم نفسه وهنا شايف نفسه بلا قيمة. ده طبعا سيدني كارتون لكن هو شايف ان نفسه هيبقى ليها قيمة هيبقى ليها value if he sacrificed it for Lucy. secrecy and confession السر والاعتراف بيه وده طبعا السر اللي كان مخبيه تشارلز دارناي لما كان he wanted to tell the secret to marry Lucy وما اتكلم privately to Dr. Manette. influence of the past التأثر بالماضي وهنا طبعا لما تشارلز دارناي كلم دكتور مانيت about his past life قال له please don't remind me with these difficult days. نروح على quotations. number 1 It was time you paid a visit, Mr. Darnay, but I'm afraid Lucy's not here. ده طبعا دكتور مانيت لما تشارلز دارناي كان جاي عشان يتكلم معاه وكان قاصد طبعا ان هو يجي ولوسي مش موجودة. Yes, I know I plan to visit you when she would not be home, so that I might speak to you privately, sir. Dear Dr. Manette, I love your daughter dearly. ده طبعا تشارلز دارناي to Dr. Manette. You know what it's to love someone. I'm sure you understand how I feel. ده برضه تشارلز دارناي to Dr. Manette. I beg you don't remind me of that. Forgive me. I don't doubt your love for Lucy. أنا مش شاكك في حبك للوسي. ده طبعا Dr. Manette. You must understand that I don't want to come between you and your daughter. أنا مش عايز أقف بينك وبين بنتك أو مش عايز أقف بينك وبين لوسي. ده طبعا تشارلز دارناي to Dr. Manette. Do you have any reason to believe that Lucy loves you? Dr. Manette to Charles Darnay. You have seen Mr. Stryver and Mr. Carton. If there is anyone, it could only be one of them. لو في حد احتمال يفكر في لوسي تاني. طبعا برضو تشارلز دارناي Dr. Manette to Charles Darnay. I am going to tell you something, Sydney, that will rather surprise you. I intend to marry. طبعا هنا Mr. Stryver لسيدني كارتون. Yes, and not for money. Guess who is? It's Lucy Manette. برضو نفس الإجابة. I am going to ask your lovely little friend Lucy Manette to marry me. ده هنا لما راح لما Mr. Stryver went to Tellyson's Bank to visit Mr. Lorry وقال الكلام ده. فمستر لوري رد عليه طبعا لما كان عايز يقول له ما ينفعش. قال له I just feel Mr. Stryver that you shouldn't go about something unless you have a good chance of succeeding. لازم يكون عندك فرصة نجاح. فطبعا اللي قال كده الكلام ده مين؟ مستر لوري لمستر سترايفر. سيدني كارتون Even if you could love me as much I love you I would have to turn you away. حتى لو انت بتحبيني زي ما انا بحبك أنا لازم أبعد عنك. A wasted miserable man like me would simply ruin your life. شخص ضايع زيي هيدمر حياتك. طبعا ده سيدني كارتون للوسي. لوسي to سيدني كارتون: مستر كارتون I beg you try to change your life, you can't do it. تترجاه ان هو يغير حياته. سيدني كارتون to لوسي: Allah, just remember that here is a man that would give his life to keep a life you love beside you. ده البروميس اللي قاله سيدني كارتون at the end of the chapter. خلصنا chapter 5. هنقرا الأسئلة وهنجاوبها، وبعد كده هيبقى عندنا فرصة تانية إن احنا نراجع على الشابترز اللي فات، عشان بعد كده هيبقى في جزء تاني هنربط بيه الأحداث كلها مع بعض. بشكركم جدا، وإن شاء الله نتقابل في فيديو جديد.